All right. Good morning, everyone. And if you're not in the Arizona time zone and joining us from somewhere else across the country, good morning or good afternoon to you, because it might be afternoon where you are. So I hope you guys are doing well on this Thursday morning. We've got lots of people that are in the waiting room that are joining us. So we're going to give it just another like 30 to 60 seconds here so that as people are joining, it doesn't interfere with our presentation. All right. What do you say? Should we get started here? Reward the punctual? I say we do. We want to respect your time and we want to make this the most value packed 60 minutes that it can possibly be. So, again, welcome to our first session in the AI system. And I see many familiar names and faces on this call so far. But I also see some that I've not had the pleasure of meeting. So, if you're a guest with us today, I want to say thank you and welcome. We know that you're going to walk away with value. Maybe if you are a Zoom expert by this point, you can participate with me in this question. But how many? I'm just curious if you could do the little show of hands, either on camera or click the little emoji. How many of you guys attended the AI Summit that we put on just a few weeks ago? Awesome. And now, if you do me a favor, thumbs up or thumbs down. Was it valuable use of your time? All right, I'm seeing some thumbs up. Very, very good. Well, we're excited to take the 4 hours of information that we provided and that Shoni provided you that day and to start to chunk it down into actionable, implementable, if that's a word, steps for you to actually get your time back. There's a few things that I like to talk about with mega agents that I consult on a regular basis, and those are ROE, ROT, and ROI: return on energy, return on time, and return on investment. And our goal through this series is to give you all three of those. And AI is the most powerful way in this moment in our industry to create all three of those things in your business so that you can grow and scale. Joe, how about you skip to the next page? Guys, as an introduction and reminder, we are the Access Network. We're the fastest growing family of real estate offices in the state of Arizona. We do business under two brands: Keller Williams Southern Arizona and Keller Williams Arizona Realty. And we are really proud of what we're building here in Arizona, keeping our agents on the cutting edge of the industry and bringing to them best in class services and resources so that they can be the best agents that they possibly can be. So if you're just brushing shoulders with Access Network and this is your first taste of who we are, again, I want to say welcome and we're excited to have you. Artificial intelligence, I don't think it's any secret that it's here to stay, right? And while you and I are deciding what we will do with AI, there's someone else that's out there, a competitor down the street, who's deciding to utilize it to take your market share. And I want to give you guys all a virtual high five because you guys have actually, by being here today, decided that you are the person that's going to use it. Guys, there's no question that a foundational shift has already occurred. This is not in the future. This is not now. This has been happening for a long time. If you are an Apple user, sometimes iPhones will throw up in your Photos apps these memories, right? And the other day, it just so happened that a memory came up of a post that Sam Altman, who is the founder and CEO of OpenAI, it was a tweet that he had made. And I had reposted this years ago. And that tweet talked about how blue collar jobs were not at risk with AI in the same way that white collar jobs were. It were is white collar jobs, he said, that would probably be the first to be threatened if there were not was not if you did not adapt. And I think in the real estate industry, we are learning that. And so we need to continue to move and utilize. There are examples in every single field: medical diagnostics, finance, retail, and entertainment. If you've gone to the gas station recently, you see AI even built into the technology, reading barcodes so that you can go in and out without ever talking with a human. Guys, AI is all around us, and you know this. Joe, go ahead and skip to the next slide. And so, what we need to do is we need to decide. If we think about real estate in particular, we think about the behemoths around us. We've got Zillow and Redfin that are already making targeted instant offers on properties, analyzing things through AI. Lending, major lender executives across the country have been very, very forthright about what they believe will occur with AI. Rick Roque, some of you may know or may not, has been a top mortgage executive for a very long time. And 2 months ago, he posted on LinkedIn this idea of the great lie. And the lie is, as he states it, that up to 90% of his industry, he believes, will actually be replaced by artificial intelligence. And he's been on the forefront of sharing that, guys, this is disruptive. Property marketing. When I talk to real estate agents like you guys, most of you, if you've dipped your toe into AI, have already started to utilize ChatGPT and other tools for property marketing. But we want to go deeper than that. We want this series, the AI system, to move you from treating AI as a tool and really beginning to embrace it as a teammate and having it accomplish tasks for you. This is the internet in 1998. Some of you guys on this call probably are too young to even know what that means. And I love that I'm old enough to start saying that. I feel like the old man in the room. I came into a meeting with our leadership council the other day, and one of my agents thought that I said, "Hey, kiddo." And I was like, I am not old enough to call anyone in my world kiddos. But this is our internet moment. Gen Z, this is your internet moment. The people who dismiss it are going to be the ones who are scrambling to catch up later. So, AI real estate agents, in the world of AI, and Shoni talked about this at the summit. And if you've heard Jeremiah Taylor, who is our partner in BrokerBot, talk about this, we're in this moment of generative AI, and generative AI is moving into agentic AI. All that means is that AI is moving from being a consultant, if you will, into actually doing work, actually accomplishing tasks for you. But again, I am a firm believer that unlike the vast majority of the mortgage industry, that the realtor that embraces AI is not going to be replaced in the near future. I continue to be a firm believer that you guys will remain the center of the consumer experience as it pertains to real estate. So, with all of that as a backdrop, what we want to do is jump into what the consumer values and how you guys can take your next step with AI.
Awesome. Thanks, David. I'm going to take over on this part here. My name is Jake Kindem. I'm the team leader CEO of Keller Williams Southern Arizona, our Southern Arizona territory, spanning from Casa Grande all the way down to the border, Sierra Vista. Super excited to jump on here today. And let's talk a little bit about what the consumer values, because a lot of time, in fact, we just had our leadership meeting of all around value. And with some of our top agents here, what we talked about was what value do you offer your team? What value do you offer your colleagues, but then also the clients? And it was really interesting to hear some of the feedback. So let's take a look at some of the polls, right? When consumers were asked, what do you value most in an agent? Two things came up over and over. It was expertise and negotiation, right? So not marketing fluff, not even access to listings, but essentially the ability to guide them and fight for them. So what this tells us, at least what this tells me, is something super important that might be conflated with some of these, newsworthy headlines or these headlines that people are just like we've seen time and time again, the news trying to have an agenda, right? Clients don't pay us just to open the doors. They pay us to open possibilities. They pay us to consult them, to guide them through the process, and then to fight for them to get them the best deal as possible. And what this tells us, right? AI can't replace this, but it can amplify it for you. So this goes back to that saying that hopefully you're hearing more and more. AI won't replace agents, but agents that utilize AI, or agents that are enhanced by AI, will replace agents that don't, or will replace agents that aren't. Okay, so with the right tools, you can show up sharper, faster, with more to offer than ever. Joe, you can go to the next slide. So here's just another survey. Most important quality you look for in a real estate agent: knowledge of the local market, trustworthiness, and honesty. Right? The stats show us 80% of consumers actually, in a different stat, value honesty. They choose honesty when they're choosing an agent. It's because they trust them. So think of hiring like a trial lawyer, right? You don't hire them just to file the paperwork. You hire them for their strategy and their ability to fight for your best outcome, right? Real estate is no different. They don't hire you just to do the paperwork, but they're actually hiring you to strategize with them and then push that through for them. Okay, so let's take a look here at the next couple of slides. We're going to look at how top agents are using AI. And this is a study, a poll done with the top mastermind in Keller Williams, some of the top agents in Keller Williams. So this doesn't represent all agents, but it does represent the cream of the crop of Keller Williams Realty International. 34% are using AI for virtual staging, 25% for database management, 22% property valuation, 11% lead qualification, 8% appointment scheduling. Now, two things here that jump out. You see on the screen, the biggest surprise: 28% of this group was not even using AI in their business at all, that they were aware of, right? Consciously. They might be using it and they're not aware of it, but they're not consciously aware of it or actively using it as a strategy. However, other studies show us, other polls show us that 80% of all agents are not utilizing AI. So if 28% of the top agents aren't, 80% of the total agent population aren't using it, what does that tell you? To me, it screams opportunity. To me, it screams there's so much opportunity right now, and now's the time to get in and get familiar and get comfortable with it, because sooner than we can even count on, it's going to be table stakes, right? That number is going to go from 80% to flipped. 80% of agents will be using it, and not only will the consumer expect it, it'll actually be a note against you if you're not using it. So like David mentioned, this is that time. 1998, right before the big boom of the internet. If we could all go back knowing what we know now, who would have gotten involved then? Who would have invested in that then, right? Who would have invested in those skills that we know now are, you need those basic computer skills. You need to know how to search the internet, right? This is what's coming.
Jake, this might be a great time just to pause, if I could, and launch a one question poll that we had for you guys around the question of time and AI. And we're curious, the three of us are curious, where you spend the majority of your time in your business. So, Jake, if you're okay with it, as you're talking, I'm going to launch this poll for everyone.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we shared the stats. We talked a little bit about how some agents are using it, and we talked. Now let's essentially talk about why aren't all agents integrating AI into their business. Okay, so we're going to go through a couple of myths. We're going to go through some common hurdles, and then after we talk about this, we're actually going to launch in with Joe to some nitty-gritty actual applications of this. So, myth number one, right? AI is too complicated to learn. How many of you have heard this from a colleague, heard this thrown around informally or formally, maybe even from a leader at a brokerage? Or how many of you, be honest with yourself, how many of you have told this to yourself or written it off for yourself, right? The reality is, though, if you can send a text or if you can write an email, you can use AI. It's as simple as that, right? The hardest part isn't the technology, it's giving yourself permission to start small. And the human condition, when we think of it, how many of you have ever had a massive goal? I want to make $1 million. I want to make $200,000 maybe. I want to lose 50 pounds. I want to run a marathon, right? And how many people dream big, but they don't give themselves permission to start small and earn and build that foundation and earn the right to improve and do more and more, right? This is not something that you need to rush into. And we'll talk about this in a minute. There's a lot of shiny objects out there and really cool applications that unless you build that foundational knowledge and unless you give yourself permission to earn that right to go to that step, you're never going to actually be able to implement. Okay. So AI is more like a calculator than a coding language. Just think of it like that. You don't need to know how it works under the hood to utilize it. I don't know how a calculator exactly works. I just know when I go there and say, what's 4 times 4, it's going to give me the answer. Right. So myth number two, AI will make my work feel less personal. Okay. In reality, AI makes you more personal because it actually remembers details you might otherwise forget. I mean, how many of you have been around long enough to know when CRM started becoming a thing? Like these tools that you put information into and it reminded you about things. And there was so much pushback. I know talking to agents who have been in the business, longer than 30 years, 40 years, like we just used to write everything down. And when CRMs came, it kind of felt like this. Like people started pushing back saying, wait, this doesn't feel like it's going to help me be personal to my clients. It feels like it's going to be a robot or something, right? So it's funny just how the cycles work, right? Well, here's one actual story of how I've heard an agent using AI, right? An agent that I know uses AI to track birthdays and anniversaries and actually auto-generate a message draft. So instead of forgetting or scrambling, like we know we can set reminders, what this agent actually does is loads in a couple of their communication with that client or that contact and then puts that into AI. It actually generates a message so that when it is paired with the reminder for their birthday, they don't have to think. They just review it. They maybe add in something or tweak a little something, and then they're able to send it, right? Because how many times have we not sent a message to somebody because we thought, I don't really have anything to say, or I'm just going to go, I'm not going to stand out. This is going to take too long for me to try to figure out a way to stand out, right? This is a way that it can help you actually come across more personalized to that person, to that contact. So again, think of AI as like an executive assistant. Okay, you always wished that you had somebody that could do this for you and just say, generate these for me, get these for me. Well, now you can. And then this is maybe one of my favorite ones to hear because this is the exact thing. If you believe this one for too long, you're going to be one of those agents that gets replaced by slowly by somebody that is using AI, right? I don't need AI. I'm already productive, right? But look, even the busiest agents burn 5 to 10 hours a week on admin, research, content creation. And these are people that are already highly leveraged. So that's time you can never get back, guys. And one of the stories that has stuck with me since the AI summit was if you were able to trade places with Warren Buffett with all circumstances, would you? Right? You get his wealth, you get his influence, you get his knowledge, and the catch is he's 96 years old, right? So I guarantee you Warren Buffett would trade places with any single one of you because you've got more time, and that shows you how valuable time is, right? So, um, listen, this is kind of like doing laundry by hand, right? Sure, you could do it, or doing the dishes by hand. You could do it. Why not use a washing machine? Why not use a dishwasher to save some of that time and finish the job yourself? So if these myths aren't true, why else aren't agents diving in? Okay, so we're going to talk about the real hurdles that people get stuck, that I've seen most commonly, and that I think you all can relate to. Okay, so number one, lack of daily integration. Okay, so most agents have heard of ChatGPT, maybe Claude, but they use them as maybe more of a novelty, or again, they haven't given themselves permission to really explore it. So maybe they throw in something like a vague, hey, write me a post for social media every now and they get something back that's not super applicable, or that's kind of sounds generic, and they kind of write it off. Okay, number two would be shiny object syndrome. So agents get distracted by every new tool instead of mastering that foundational few that you can actually grow with. And you can grow your own knowledge with, and you can grow your business with. That's something we see all the time. And then number three, call this the reinvention tax, okay? Or AKA no prompt library. And this is how I like to describe this. A prompt is a saved prompt, or a prompt library is essentially like a saved MLS search. Right. So just like when you're working with a client and you're trying to send them homes in a certain neighborhood or a certain price point, every time you want to send them homes, what if you had to go and set up the search every single time and the filter every single time and then send it to them? And then they asked 2 hours later, hey, can I see more in a different price point? And you had to go back and do that over and over and over again every single time they wanted it. How many clients could you actually work with before you're like, you either stopped doing it, or the service was so poor that you made mistakes and they were like, this is terrible, right? This is the exact same thing that a lot of agents do. They go, and maybe you are using ChatGPT, maybe you are using Claude or Grok or whatever. Instead of saving those prompts, you're just like going back there and typing the same questions over and over again, trying to get maybe the same result or a different result. And it's driving you crazy. So you say, this is too much work, I'm not going to do it. So all that to say, we're going to talk a little bit about each one of these and how we're going to give you some tips on how to integrate these and overcome these hurdles so that you can master this and you can get started. Or if you're already started, you can improve upon that foundation to get to that next level.
All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Joe Quattrucci, real estate trainer and coach here in Scottsdale, Arizona, creator of the PCX platform. David helped us understand why we want to be using AI. Jake helped us understand the mindset in the context of using AI. Over the next 20 minutes, I'm going to be teaching you exactly how to use AI. So grab your notebook, grab your pen. We're going to give you some really practical, tangible information today that you can take immediate action on. Jake made a really good point when he said humbling ourselves to start small. Our plan as a leadership team is to give you the building blocks over time. Today, we're starting with the foundations that every single one of you can take a hold of. Over the next several months, we will have more of these calls where we will build into more complex concepts using AI. So make sure you get the foundations today so that we can build on top of that. Now, in order to think about how to best use AI, we need to think about the client experience. We're all here to serve our clients, and the agents that do that the best are able to anticipate the client's needs before the client has to ask them. So let's think about the different phases of a transaction and where there might be friction in that phase that we can smooth out with AI. So the beginning of the process, whether buying or listing, is typically the search process, right? I'm searching for a real estate agent. I'm searching for a property to purchase. The number one friction there is information overload, not knowing where to look or what they're looking for. Then we get down into the documentation phase, doing paperwork, filling out agreements, disclosures. What does all this mean? It can lead to confusion and overwhelm by our clients and that feeling of uncertainty, which sometimes prevent them from moving forward. Then we get into the phase of process navigation, moving from contract to close. And the most important thing about being under contract, of course, is the timeline, making sure that we understand the next deadline that needs to be met by us, by the other party, by our client. Again, this can lead to overwhelming confusion. Then we have actual communication, both quality and quantity of communication. And as Jake indicated, AI allows us to create more personalized, more detailed communications with our clients, helping us anticipate their needs and surprise and delight them with the service we're able to offer. And then, of course, the decision-making process. Again, whether it's a buyer or a seller, making decisions around data analysis, the way they feel about the transaction, et cetera. And so we're going to break these items down into a few bite-sized chunks that we can start mastering together as a group. Now, what I'm going to do for you, this is where you really want to have your pen in hand, is I am going to share with you the top 5 AI platforms for real estate and what to use them for. Simply by organizing this information on a piece of paper and in your mind, you're going to know which platform to use based on what you're trying to do. So go ahead and write this down right now. ChatGPT is best for content creation. This includes things like creative writing, listing descriptions in the MLS, prospecting emails, email sequences, perhaps for when you go under contract, text templates, not only texting our existing clients, but texting prospects, maybe an open house follow-up plan, transaction emails, anticipating questions and letting them know in advance what to expect and what to plan for, monthly newsletters, a way to stay top of mind with your local market, sharing with them relevant and timely information about updates and changes happening in their local market. And then, of course, any kind of education. If you've ever heard me speak before, my whole concept with sales is being a subject matter expert by educating our consumers. Let me ask you a question. When you position yourself as a subject matter expert who focuses first on education, does that build trust with a client? Of course it does. And we remember from Jake's slide, that is the #1 factor people are looking for. So if you present like you know what you're talking about, and hopefully you do know what you're talking about, people will automatically trust you as a professional, do business with you, and refer you business. Now, as you are writing those down, you may have got a couple of additional ideas. Let me just take a 2-minute pause, not even, 30-second pause, and let me ask you, did anybody come up with an additional idea how to use ChatGPT, maybe something you're already doing that's not on this list? The reason I'm asking is because if you have a good idea, let's share it with the rest of our community. So what came to mind as you were writing down these items for ChatGPT? What additional features might you use this tool for? Does anybody want to answer? Yeah, Carol, thank you.
Do you hear me, Joe?
Hmm?
Staging.
Staging, absolutely. Let's hear one more before we move on.
Well, like you said, client education, if they ask us something, let's say about zoning or anything, we can search it. I don't know how, but I've heard of it, and we can have the answer and send it to the client.
Yes, if you get your zoning policy or a manual or a document that's filled with information, you can actually upload it into chat and then ask it questions about that document. Absolutely. Really powerful tool. All right, let's keep moving. I know that you're going to keep writing these down as we go. The next platform we want you to be aware of is called Perplexity. Perplexity is best for market research and market data. This tool is going to help you find local trends, local insights, and market data analysis. This goes directly into what I just said about being a subject matter expert. Would you guys agree that most of what we do as real estate agents is help buyers and sellers understand the market conditions that we're in and the best strategies to use based on their goals and based on the market conditions that we're in? That's the whole goal. I'll never remember, I actually learned this from David Morris on this call, leading today's call. Our #1 job as a real estate agent is to simply bridge the gap between buyer and seller expectations in any market. By using market data and analytics, we can show the client data and ask them questions about how they want to position their property. We don't have to insist we know the right listing price. Rather, we can show data, ask the client questions about the market that we're in, and help them self-discover where they should position to achieve their goals in any market. And so we're going to use Perplexity for that. Let's keep moving. Gamma. Gamma is the third platform we want you to be familiar with. Gamma is best for design. This would be, when I say design, I'm talking about making things look pretty, making it look sexy. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on a call. Making it look flashy, making it look appealing, however you want to say it, right? This would include things like presentations, buyer and listing presentation, pamphlets, educational pamphlets. Maybe you have events coming up you want to create a really impressive marketing piece for. Any sort of guides, buyer guide, seller guide, under contract guide, how to get a mortgage, whatever it is that you want to educate your consumers around. Web pages. Gamma can actually design for you web pages. Now, I don't want to make this too complicated too quickly, but let me just plant a seed in your mind of where this is all going in future calls. Think about the way that you can join two platforms together. I'll give you a simple example. You go on ChatGPT and you write the content for a buyer presentation. You go on Perplexity to get local market data relevant to your local market, and you plug those two things into Gamma to design it into a presentation for you. You see now, just in one example, how one tool can actually compound into multiple tools, making your whole life so much easier. The next one we're going to talk about is Otter. Otter like the otter. I should have had something better for that. I'll work on that one for next call. Otter is best for transcription. This is turning voice into text, right? So a meeting transcription, any sort of note-taking, if you're in a class or some sort of educational event or a very important meeting. And then, of course, it provides summaries. Summaries are great to be able to provide recaps to people. Hey, here's a quick recap of what we discussed and agreed to during today's meeting. Here's a recap of the AI class I just attended. And summaries, obviously, are a great way to quickly condense down the most important information. So make sure you're using Otter for transcription and summary. And then Midjourney. Midjourney and Gamma, I think there's a lot of crossover, but Midjourney was recommended really specifically for graphics. So like images specifically, like property visuals. Carol mentioned earlier, staging properties, virtual staging of properties, marketing visuals, video creation. We're going to get a little deeper into some of these more complex strategies later on in future classes, but we at least wanted to introduce the concept and the different platforms that are available to you today. So those are the 5 platforms. Now, what I've been learning, guys, as I've been leaning into AI, is there are dozens, probably hundreds of platforms, right? So you're not limited to these 5, but start simple, start small. Start with the few platforms we know work, and then you can expand out further. I'll give you one last trick. You can use AI to determine which AI you should be using. I went on ChatGPT and said, hey, Chat, what's the best tool as a real estate agent to create visual graphics for a listing property, right? You can literally ask AI which AI platform to use based on the thing you're trying to do. And so again, I'm just getting you to think creatively about how you can expand the effects of this type of leverage. Now we want to get into some practical, tangible things for you to go do in your business. So here we go. As a team, David, Jake, and I decided that these are the 4 topics we're going to cover today in some amount of detail, because every one of you can start taking action on these things now. In future classes, we'll get more into the, again, more advanced strategies and tactics. So make sure you show up next month so that we can build on the foundation. Today, we're going to focus on marketing your listing, doing market research, email communication, and social media content creation. And I'm going to show you guys just how easy it is to begin positioning yourself as a subject matter expert. Now, to make things really easy for you, We have taken the liberty of creating an entire library of examples for you. So after today's call, we are going to email you this template library. As you can see in the left-hand column, we've broken down different stages in the transaction: marketing and lead gen, market analysis and pricing, business strategy. And we've created concepts and ideas for each of those different phases of a transaction. So we will give you a complete checklist after today's call. We're going to start with just 4 examples to get you going. Now, the most important thing about using AI is the prompts that you give it. For those of you who know me, you know I'm a coach. The number one thing I say as a coach to other coaches is this: the quality of the questions you ask lead to the quality of the answers you get. And that could not be more true using AI. So we need to learn how to ask quality questions. I'm going to teach you right now how to ask quality questions. Make sure you have your pen in hand. Here we go. Step 1, when writing a prompt, you want to give clear context of who you are and what you want and what you're trying to achieve. So the beginning of your prompt is going to say, hey, AI, I'm a real estate agent. I want to write a follow-up email to open house visitors who might be interested but haven't responded yet. That's one example of the beginning of your prompt. You want to be upfront with who you are, what you want to do, and what you're trying to achieve. And so there's just one simple example. I'll give you a different one off the top of my head. Hey, AI, I'm a newly licensed real estate agent, and I'm going on a listing presentation tomorrow with a first-time home seller in the mid-price range in Scottsdale, and I need to be prepared with X, Y, and Z. Give me X, Y, and Z. All right, so just give AI the scenario. That's step 1. Clear context. Step 2, define the role you want AI to play. This means command AI with what you want it to do for you. It can be a copywriter, it can serve as a coach, an analytics tool, a marketer. So an example would be, act as a marketing copywriter and write a social media post that attracts first-time home buyers. Tell the AI how you want it to behave for you. Tell the AI what role you want it to play. Okay? That's 2. Number 3, be specific about the output that you want to see. The clearer you are about the formatting and the actual outcome that you want to see, the better the result will be. So for example, you could say, write a professional but friendly email, no more than 150 words. The more detail you give it, the more correct it will be. If you give it very vague instructions, you will get a very vague response. And so add as much detail as possible. What I've learned, guys, you don't have to be grammatically correct even. You can have one really long one run-on sentence, right, that you'd never be allowed to do in high school when you're writing an English paper. You can have a whole paragraph that's one sentence, and as long as it's cogent, it will turn it into the result that you want. So don't worry about being proper. Don't worry about being grammatically correct. Just make sure what you're saying makes sense and add as much detail as possible to get the best result you can get. All right, number 4, provide the raw ingredients. This is so important. What AI does is it goes out and it scours different web pages for information. The more detail you give AI in the prompt, the less scouring it has to do. This makes sure that it gives you the most accurate answer possible. So include the details that you want the AI to use. For example, we might include different property features, such as the price point, the number of bedrooms and bathrooms, square footage, neighborhood amenities, so on and so forth. Additional details might be your specific goal with the post. So I want to book more showings. I want to attract more listings. I want to nurture a lead over time. The audience type. I'm talking to and focusing on attracting a first-time home buyer or a military relocation or somebody moving into senior living, right? You can be very detailed with the prompts. The more data you feed it, the less generic your response will be. That's number 4. Let's move to number 5. ask AI to ask you clarifying questions. I'm going to say that one again because it's so important. Ask AI to ask you clarifying questions. So you could say in your prompt, I'm a real estate agent focused on first-time home buyers in the market of Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm looking for military relocation. And before you write my prompt, I want you to ask me 3 questions that would help you give better, more tailored output. AI will ask you 2 or 3 questions. You write your responses right into the prompt, and then it gives you a more detailed response back. Just like you're talking to a human being. If you're treating your AI, for example, like a marketing specialist, and you were sitting in front of a marketing specialist, you would say, what do you need to know from me to be able to do this at the highest level? And you can do the same exact thing with your prompts. So ask AI questions and ask AI to ask you questions so that it can gather as much information as it needs to be able to do whatever it is that you're asking it to do. And last, number 6, iterate instead of expecting perfection. All we mean by iterate is the very first draft it gives you may not be precisely what you want. So after it gives you the first answer, respond and say, now make this more concise and add more urgency. Or change the tone to be more warm and welcoming. Change the tone to be more urgent and sales directed. You can tell it to be softer or more direct. You can teach it your personality over time. And so after it gives you a first answer, read through it, identify what you like and don't like, and then iterate, respond back, and say, here's the things I really liked about this template. Here's the things I want you to change about this template. Here's the tone I want you to use. I want you to expand it or make it shorter. I want you to add or remove X, Y, and Z, and then give it a second chance to give you a prompt. And when it gives you that second chance, now it's going to be more in alignment with what you're asking it for. You can do this 3 or 4 times. So if you don't get the answers you want right away, iterate, iterate, iterate. The AI will get smarter over time and eventually get more and more narrowed in on what you want it to do. Now we're going to go through some examples of a prompt. So at the very top of the screen, the first prompt that we are going to go over today is marketing a listing. Now, guys, I don't even have to show you the answers because the answers are phenomenal. What you have to learn to master is the prompt itself. So this is where we're going to spend our time today so that you become a master at writing a prompt. And let me show you the example that we've created for you. The very top of the screen is the first sentence in the prompt. You are my real estate marketing specialist. You're telling AI the role they're playing. I want help creating a powerful marketing campaign for a new listing. That's the output. Here's some information about me. My name, my brokerage, I serve the Scottsdale market in Arizona, and my target audience. I choose to work and focus on first-time home buyers relocating out of state or whatever, right? Your target audience, your niche audience. After that, you'll type in any specific listing details because remember, we're marketing a listing. So we're going to put in things like the price, beds and bath, square footage, the 3 most common data points for any listing, and then the neighborhood and location, obviously, and then any unique features that you want AI to highlight when they're marketing this specific listing. So pool, remodeled, backyard, walking distance to amenities, whatever might be unique or special that you're selling about that property. Then tell AI the goal. The goal is to attract attention online through social media. Or the goal is to attract people via email to schedule an appointment. Or the goal is to get multiple showings scheduled for this Saturday, right? Whatever it is that you want the outcome to be of this marketing. And then at the very bottom, you're going to tell AI specifically the output you want to see. So the role AI is playing is your marketing specialist. We understand that from the top. The output that it gives you is as follows. I want a complete marketing strategy, where to post, what to emphasize, and how to position it. Or I want a 150-word MLS description that is engaging, benefit-driven, and optimized for buyer interest. And so you're teaching the AI how to use the data you're giving it to create the proper response. Or you could say something like, create me 3 subject lines for email campaigns that are short and will elicit as many responses as possible. Subject line, guys, is a hugely important part of sending any sort of email campaign. So that's like a really easy starting point, is just create better subject lines for your emails. And so that's one example of marketing a listing. Let's go through a couple more. You're going to start to see the pattern right away here. Let's say that we want to just conduct market research, right? We're a subject matter expert in Scottsdale, Arizona, and we want to showcase what's changing about the market to our consumers. You're my real estate marketing research assistant. I want you to help me analyze the current market data so I can better position myself with clients and make data-driven decisions. Guys, there's no more important time to make a data-driven decision than in a shifting market, because sellers have last year's expectations and buyers have next year's expectations. Our job is to bridge the gap. Use data and research to help you, and the prompt is already setting you up for success. About me, agent, market, ideal client, who are you trying to target? Market focus, location, property type. That could be single family homes, that could be condos, that could be investment properties, whatever it is that you're focused on. Price range, time frame, and any other competitive features. The goal, understand pricing trends and absorption rate, how fast homes are selling. You can turn this into an email campaign. You can turn this into a social media post. You could turn this into a text message that you send to your entire SOI saying, I always told you I would be your subject matter expert. Things are changing. Here's an update. And then the output I want from AI. I want a market overview of the most important stats. I want a simple story. Story. I can't emphasize that enough. Your consumers want stories of success. This is saying a simple story of what the market is doing right now. Where I'm going with it is talk about the successful story of getting a buyer the dream home. Talk about a successful story of helping your seller sell for the most amount of money possible. And you can use AI to help you draft those narratives, and you can use AI to help you create the market data and the visuals you need to really propel that story forward. You're already starting to see the pattern in these prompts. Let me show you 2 more quick ones. This next one is around email communication. This is one of the simplest places to get started. You are my real estate email copywriter. So again, we're telling AI who they are in this, who we want them to act as. I need help writing a professional, clear, engaging email to my clients and prospects. Here's about me. Here's the raw ingredients I want you to include. Who is the email for? What is the goal of the email? What tone do I want? I want a professional tone. I want a warm, casual tone. I want an urgent tone. If people are thinking about selling, I would have an urgent tone. Key details to include. Obviously, if you have any links, registration forms, market stats, you can plug that right into your prompt and it will recycle that information in the output. The goal of the email is to make the email feel personalized and authentic. Going back to David's point, AI isn't going to make you less personal. It's going to make you more personal if you prompt it accordingly. And so just tell it, I want to use a personalized and authentic. I want the message to be personalized and authentic. Subject lines that get high open rates. Again, can't emphasize that one enough. Drive clients toward the next step in the process. Output I want from you, 3 subject lines, a polished version of the email. You can tell them how short you want the email. You can have it build the entire email. Here's what I like to do. Pro tip. Build one really great email Iterate, 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 get it perfect, and then say to AI, now I want you to build the second email in the campaign using the first email as the foundation. It will take everything it learned from the first email iteration and build you the second message in the communication plan based on all of the feedback you already provided. Then you can say, build the third email in the campaign. I just did this for my business. I built 8 emails in about 7 minutes flat. It was actually scary how easy it was. Now, one thing I will say, after you have AI build it, what I personally like to do is I print it out on a piece of paper and then I highlight and I take notes. And then I make one last final round of edits just to make sure it sounds most like me. I promise you, if you do it this way, it will be the most personalized and it will still save you enormous amounts of time. All I'm saying is proofread your AI work. Don't just copy and paste it and assume it's great. Make sure you read it because you want it to sound like you. Last one, real quick, because there's more we want to show you. Matter of fact, I'm just going to skip this one because there's more we want to show you, and I just saw the time, and I'm a long speaker, obviously. The prompt is exactly the same. Who are you? What is the content you want it to use? What is the goal of the message you want it to provide you? I think you guys see the pattern in the prompt. What we have done for you is we have built a master prompt. The prompt that builds prompts. You know how I said you could use AI to ask AI what AI you should be using? You can use a prompt to ask AI what prompt I should be using. We've already done the work for you. Let me show you what happens when you use this prompt. I created a video for you. This is a copy and paste of the prompt we're giving you. AI is going to start responding to me. What AI wants me to do is define the outputs. It wants to know the topic, goal, and format. So watch the response I put in at the bottom of the screen. I give it the bare minimum amount of information. Topic, goal, and check out what it gives me. The listing presentation, I wanted a conversational script. Step 1, build rapport. Step 2, uncover motivation. Step 3, position yourself as the guide. Present the value, and provide social proof. Guys, if I was teaching a class, that is what I would tell you to do. So these prompts are really powerful. And imagine if you gave this second step more details. Again, look at the bottom of the screen. Watch how little information I give it for the second prompt. I just say listing presentation, convert more clients, format, conversational script. And this is what it gives me. Super, super powerful.
So I just want to make sure everybody understands what Joe's just showing, because this is like the cheat code into if you don't know where to start with prompting, essentially what he's walking you through is this is going to help you think about what prompt or what area you want to apply the best prompt to. Super, super cool. Really valuable.
Yeah, exactly. David, do you want to talk very briefly, about BrokerBot and what we can do with this BrokerBot tool? I have one more video I want to share with you guys.
Yeah, just very quickly, for any of you that are in our network, you already know that you have access to BrokerBot. And BrokerBot started as your contract assistant, and it has quickly evolved into your virtual stager, your marketing assistant, all of those things in an ADRE, AAR compliant way that we are confident and will stand behind. So I want to encourage our agents to really lean in and utilize and just take this tool that's offered to you for free of charge.
Yeah, and I'm going to show you guys how powerful this tool is. Look at the prompt I have. Based on the purchase agreement provided, you can upload a document. Please provide me with a compliance checklist to ensure I follow brokerage, board, and state compliance procedures. Pretty good prompt, right? Not that much detail, but let's see what it gives us. I upload my purchase agreement. This is a real life agreement, by the way. I just went under contract. Thank you for your congratulations. Now let's see what that's going to take a second to think, right? That's okay. We're going to watch it think for a second and then watch what it spits out. It's right now reading the 15 or 20 page agreement I uploaded, and analyzing it to find the answers. Compliance checklist for Arizona residential purchase contract. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Holy smokes, our lives have never been easier. Then you can say, send this information to me in an email, or give it to me in a format that I can print, or you can just copy and paste it into a document and print it, and now you have your compliance checklist. By the way, could you not do this if you had a transaction coordinator that you were training, or a team member that you were training? Boom. Then I say, what specific date must I submit my BINSR for this agreement? I'm looking for an exact date now, and watch what it does for me. It gives me the legalities. It tells me when my contract was accepted. And then it gives me all the calculations I need to tell me the exact date my BINSR is due by. That is the power of AI, and that is the power specifically of BrokerBot. Lena, yes, with a question.
Yeah, I love BrokerBot. It's awesome. It has some great components, but just as a caution, it is still learning, as our brokers have told us. So check it. You know, I think it still needs some checking when you get some very specific answers on specific contracts. So it's a work in process, but for the most part, I think it's pretty accurate.
Let me share another thing very quickly on Lena's point. You can actually correct BrokerBot as well. And what that does in the back end of the system is it will flag our brokers to review that and decide whether or not your addition to the knowledge base is a qualified answer. And so you can participate with us, to Lena's point, in teaching on some of these finer points. And we actually have, it's not an automated, it is a manual review process to determine whether or not that gets added to the knowledge base. Yeah, good point. Let's keep going here.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've only have a few minutes. We'll try to wrap up quickly, but this is the part you're definitely gonna want to hear. David, Jake, and I want to make this possible for you to start using today. We are going to share with you, following today's call, this exact prompt library that we've created for your convenience. The very first page is a table of contents with each different category and task, along with the potential tool you could use to start building leverage into your business. As you look at the left side of the page, notice that all of the prompting best practices that I just shared with you are here for you. I'll give you a hint how I created the prompt outline. I used ChatGPT. Then we created all of the master prompts so that you can come in here and copy and paste this into your prompt, whether you're using Chat, Gamma, Perplexity, or wherever you're using, so that you can start using these prompts quickly and easily. Obviously, we want you to build your own prompt library because you're going to change and modify these prompts to be more accustomed to you over time. And as AI learns you, it will use that information. So make sure that you're keeping your own prompt library, but start right here with the prompts we're giving you so that you can get started right away.
Joe, I'm just going to mention this because I saw a couple of people ask in the chat, and David responded. Also, another resource is using projects inside of ChatGPT. And I don't think we're going to cover that today, but if you want to learn how to do that, book either a one-on-one at the end, which will show you how to do that, or just request a follow-up resource. I can send a short video, just a quick walkthrough on how to do that.
David, did you want to talk, or Jake, cover the time audit and exercise?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is just another step for those of you that want to, really want to take this by the horns and look at, man, where could I optimize my time? Where could I really save the most time? And this is really like a very high level tool I'd recommend. If you look at this and you're a little bit intimidated by it, this is the perfect thing to use with a coach. Like, do this with somebody else who can guide you through that. If you look at this and this really excites you and you love the level of detail, have at it. You have access to it. And essentially what it's going to do is track how much time you're spending on different things. Once you are able to do that, you can actually quantify in these different columns how many hours you're spending on that. And then by using some of the tips on the actual sheet, you can see how much time you could save in that thing, in that area, by topic or by subject, and which AI tool is best for that. So this is kind of like a way that you can do that for yourself. If you're one of those people that, again, this excites you, I say go for it, dive into it. If you look at that and it's like, holy cow, I'm out, then book a session with book a one-on-one. Do this with somebody who can walk you through this, because it is a really powerful tool. If you already know kind of intuitively where you're spending a lot of time or where you want to go first for AI, trust your instincts. Go to that. So again, that time audit is like a deeper tool or a tool to do a little bit of a deeper analysis for yourself.
Final closing comment for me, then I'll give it to David for closing comments. Take action right away. Build momentum by doing it today when it's freshest in your mind. Pick the top 3, or heck, pick the number 1 time-consuming thing you're doing that's not producing income. Choose the platform you're going to use and start using it. Start small, give yourself a little momentum, and then dig deeper and deeper as time goes on. David?
Many of you guys have asked, are we going to continue to do this? And the answer is yes, we will. You can shoot this QR code right now and register for part 2, which is scheduled for September 22nd at 2 p.m. September 22nd at 2 p.m. You can get registered for that. We will move into the next section, utilizing what we've shared with you today to continue to take this in bite-size steps. And if you go, that is a month from today, I don't want to wait that long. Jake has shared, and you can go to the next slide. You can schedule your one-on-one implementation session with one of the specialists inside of our offices. And so I'm launching a quiz here right now. It's not really a quiz. It's more of your feedback on today's session. And inside of that session, you can also answer question number 4 so that we can schedule you for that one-on-one implementation session. So before you log out, if you could take that, if you could take the survey that popped up on your screen and tell us where you're joining from, what was helpful about this, or how satisfied you were with today's training. Guys, this is a massive subject. And, you know, massive once in a generational type shifts like this are massive. And so you're not going to get everything in one session. And so you need to keep coming back and coming back and coming back. And so we are standing by. Some of you have sat down with Casey Doty, our Director of Technology at KW Arizona, and he has helped you install things like Folio to get your email in motion. You've sat down with Jake, and you've gone into deep business analysis. Guys, we have specialists that are continuing to learn and teach this, and we would love nothing more than to help you guys take the next step in your business. You've asked about the slides. You've asked about these resources. It just so happens that the second you log off, you should receive an email, as long as you are registered, with all of the resources that we promised to you so that you can go back, watch this back, and continue to take action today. So with that, we're at 10:04. Jake, Joe, and I did schedule a little bit of a buffer, and I think we have a few minutes where we can stay on for questions, but we also want to be respectful of the rest of your time and log off until next time. So if you do have questions or follow up, I think we'll hang on for just a couple more minutes and can take some of those questions.
Take care, everybody. Thanks so much. If anybody wants to ask a question, go ahead. What you got?
Hey, Joe, I got a question. This is Cindy Schulte. I put it in the chat. When you were going through the setup of the initial library, and I understand that goes in Drive, can you help us figure out how to set that up?
I think it could be, Cindy, as simple as going into your Google Drive and just starting a new document. I like how Jake set it up, where there's tabs within the Google document, so you can have all your different prompts in one document.
Right.
I don't know that it needs to be any more complicated than one worksheet with multiple tabs.
And
Gotcha.
we'll share a copy of what Joe shared, so you don't even have to start it yourself. You'll just automatically have a copy. You rename it for yourself, and you can build on it all you'd like.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
You got it.
Yes, Carol.
Are we going to have, are you going to send us the recording of Zoom call for today?
That's David Jake. I'm not sure what the plan is. I know we're going to share slides. I'm not sure about recording.
Yes, we will. Yep.
All right, thank you.
Aside from not actually implementing AI, what's the #1 mistake you see people in our industry doing with AI?
Oh, that's a great question.
You know what? I'll share my perspective, Ashley. I was talking with Brady Sandell about this last week, and we both, it's funny, agreed that master AI behind the curtain before you bring it to the in front of the curtain. So what I mean by that is for forward-facing client activities, before you do that and put yourself on the line with them, master things that can be done behind the scenes. So in an example of that, I see agents trying to do certain prospecting and follow-up activity directly with clients, and all of us already we can spot most of the time the difference between an AI email and one that's not. And I think that my encouragement to you guys is master it behind the curtain before you put it out in front of the curtain. I hope that's helpful. That's my perspective. Maybe Jake and Joe have something different.
My answer would be the same. And I said it during the call, proofreading to make it sound like you. So for example, I wrote 5 or 8 emails for a marketing campaign for PCX that I'm going to send out to get business, but it didn't sound just like me right away. So, and to me, tonality is very important. And so I went through and I ironed it out based on how I want to represent myself, not what AI thinks I should be. And so it's the same point as David, is just making sure that you're not letting AI cause you to be lazy or complacent, but using it as a leverage tool and still owning the final result of anything you're creating.
Yeah, it's one little thing that I've noticed. How many of you have seen, and maybe those of you who've used this have noticed this too, or maybe it's just mine, the hyphen, like ChatGPT loves hyphens. It's called an M dash. And I do not use those. I so rarely use those in my own typing or emails or anything that I've had to specifically ask it not to use that, because it loves putting it in. So it's kind of along the same lines of what Joe mentioned of proofreading it to make it sound like yourself. That's one thing that I've actually heard from other people too, that they've noticed it. And the second one is just not verifying information, is trusting it blindly. And so like any kind of data or any kind of facts, if you're going to put something forward facing or even for yourself, it's always best to trust and verify. Always want to verify it with the source. That's why you ask it to cite sources, or that's why you check with a couple of different sources, especially some kind of market information or something that you're marketing to the public with.
Lupita asked a question in the chat box. Does anybody know what Command is doing with AI? If Command is doing anything with AI at this point? Not that I've heard of.
I know they've talked about it. I don't know that they've had anything specific roll out, but I know they're constantly updating it in the background.
Anything
M-dash drives me nuts because I actually have always been an M-dash user in my writing, and now I have to like take it away because people think I'm using ChatGPT.
What else would you need to know to go take action? Yeah, Sherry, thank you.
Okay, so I get all of this, and I've used ChatGPT actually to find chords for a song on my guitar, and the chords were correct, but the progression was wrong. Like they were in the wrong order. So the song didn't sound right. So my question is, like with the data that you're asking it to do in the market analysis, how do you go and not spend a ton of time vetting what it's telling you if just a little subtle problem, like if there's some kind of information that's not quite right that you don't notice right off the bat?
One quick answer, ask it to give you the source of where it found the data and make sure it's coming from a reputable source.
Okay.
Hey, AI, where'd you get that data point? Send me the web link. And then you can click on the web link and go and you know, if it's a reputable company or source, then you know it's probably valid. But at least it's been published by somebody somewhere.
Okay. Thank you. Good to see you, Joe.
Yeah, you too, Sherry. I was excited to see your name on the call today.
Hey, I just retired after 30 years of teaching, so I'm all in now.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I put an otter joke in the comments for you.
I'm gonna have to find that right now.
Anything else? All right. Well, several of you guys have responded in the feedback and requested one-on-one implementation sessions. And so we will be reviewing that information tomorrow with our team, and we'll be reaching back out to you guys to get those scheduled and point you in the right direction. I'm going to close this out here. And as I said, you'll get a follow-up email with everything that we promised. Because the recording takes some time to upload, you should look for a second email later on that has the recording, but you will get the slide deck, the resources that we linked to in the slide deck, as well as the QR codes and links to register for session 2. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Thank you, Joe and Jake, for providing such valuable content for our agents. And as always, we're here to support you guys in your business growth. So make it a great Thursday. We'll see you later.
Take care, everybody.